in MR.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us. It is indeed a wonderful, it may not be wet and rainy, but it's still a wonderful Wednesday. Miss Susan is right there. She's going to take your calls and share with us. I have an opportunity to remind us how important and how they say breast is best as we talk about breastfeeding. So please join us as we return.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And I must share, I'm always grateful for the wonderful team over at the Health Services Authority. And we get a chance to always partner with them to highlight the great things. We're honored to do so. So as we talk about breastfeeding and the breastfeeding support group, in the studio, the registered dietitian, Siobhan Sheehan, joins us together with her colleagues, Ms. Abigail Parchman and Ms. Brooke Moore. And I think when we look at the notion of breastfeeding, I would like you to guide me both as a father specifically, but as a man. I think I'll get away with calling myself a man. Susan says he's just a grown boy, but it's a different story. We sometimes fail to realize that we, as the supporting cast, can and should be playing an active role as well, or maybe not. So, welcome. Help us, Miss.
That's an excellent start, because the theme this year is empowering parents and enabling breastfeeding, and it's the word parents is key because it is a team sport, really, because while the mum is doing the heavy lifting, as you say, there's a lot of peripheral help and support that is required, and so empowering the parents, the grandparents, everyone involved in the family in the care of the baby is very important, because there's lots of roles that other individuals can also play, and even the workplace and the employer and the various leave entitlements and all that moves the whole breastfeeding success story forward.
And the provision of lactation rooms, the acceptance of the parents, the family is out for an evening and the young one is there instead of being at home. Bring her along and she could have a snack at the table whenever else is getting some food as well. That we become accepting, we become accommodating and understanding. It has come a long way, I think, in Cayman in particular. It's good to see that we've always embraced it, but for some. Ms. Parchman, from that perspective, though, have we seen a positive evolution relative to breast is best?
Yes, I think that we've definitely come a long way, as you said. There are a lot of workplaces now that have been educated and embraced that lactation room that you spoke of. I know that next door, the Government Administration Building has such a room, and other providers as well. And some exciting stuff I saw in the news the other day about a local company extending their maternity leave, and I know that not everybody publicises that, but others have done that as well. Extended the maternity leave as well as paternity leave, and we see from this year's theme that paternity leave is actually critical to breastfeeding success, because the men are important in this decision as well.
I don't want it to be about the man any more than it has to be, but I'm glad you shared that, because sometimes maybe too many of us, the employer, the breastfeeding mom, even the father, well, I don't have, I can't, and probably does not recognize the role, if the father is present, or that male, what role and how important it is that we play an active part in this process. Now, as we talk about that, Ms. Brooke, we can bring you into the conversation. Good afternoon to you, and certainly being a champion for patients, being able to advocate on behalf of mothers and working professional mothers in particular who have to balance everything. The way mothers do things these days, I'm thinking, you guys sure you're not cloned?
Right. Well, I know throughout the segment, I think we may talk about some of the challenges and highlight some issues that mothers may encounter. In my situation, my son is now 2, so and I did breastfeed. I actually
Keep chatting. Ms.
Okay.
Susan, what's that?
I actually had some challenges when my son was born with breastfeeding, and I actually reached out to the breastfeeding support group when he was about 3 weeks old, and within an hour someone was at my house and helping me and giving me tips and pointers, because a lot of women make it look very easy and in a lot of cases it actually is not. So
And perhaps that's something that we could ask, and I want you to guide me, because I think we don't always understand, but having that support and having those, if I may say, that experienced mum who's already, she's on child number 4 and she's driving. A good friend of ours used to joke, there's child 1 securely in the seat here, child 2 there, and then, the one in the back is just, fussing, and she just drives along and throws it over the shoulder and say, hey, help yourself.
Sort yourself out.
Yeah. You've heard that story before, Miss Alvin. But some experienced moms, they know what to do, and they can do so many things. She's repairing the roof and cooking the dinner and gardening and breastfeeding, and all happens perfectly in unison. And some struggle. Right? But we have the support group, so it helps us.
Yeah, and I mean, even you have obviously the very skilled, very knowledgeable and experienced members of the support group, but even within your own friends, there may be someone who can help you. It doesn't have to be such a formal approach either. It can be a parent, a neighbour, someone in the church, anyone that's had successful breastfeeding experiences. You can reach out to them and say, just in case, for example, that it doesn't happen, of course, but just in case, you're more comfortable talking with someone you know versus someone you don't necessarily know. But the main point to take out of all of this is that help is available, but as Brooke did highlight, it's not as straightforward for everybody, but with help and guidance, it can improve. And your situation, you had that experience, right?
I don't even think it has to be someone who's had breastfeeding success, because obviously, as you said, Sterling, the man is not going to be having any experience with that. But what we find is that it takes everybody. But I think the primary person is the one who's going to be closest to the mother. Yeah. Having said that, anyone can give their support. They can say, you can do it. Or even if you see a breastfeeding mum and child out in public, you can give them a smile even, instead of averting your head or, like cringing that, what are they doing? I'll go on the other side.
But don't
just
go
a
too
smile
close to
or
see what's going on.
some people do that, yeah. But a kind word, just an encouraging word can mean the difference sometimes in a breastfeeding success story.
Is it then, and I'm glad you shared that, because I think it's like another thing, the child studying for an exam, maybe trying to learn a particular note, just an encouraging word, hey, good job, keep it up, whatever that is. Sincere, encouraging note can go a long way. But is it then that we perceive that breastfeeding is just there, you just take it out and child does his thing and on you go? Some mothers, for different reasons, and maybe you can share that, the child latching on, there are different things that happen. It's not particularly comfortable for different reasons. You're not quite sure what to do. All sorts of things can be, any potential impediment allows you to just say, excuse is good enough for me. So how do we get that to that point where we see the importance of it? I mean, for me it was cheap. It's ready made. Come now, put it in there, the health benefits, but it's cheap.
That is very relevant. The economic benefit is massive, especially in Cayman, where formula is quite pricey. So that's a big one for sure. And when you talk about the benefits, there are obviously the health benefits, and there are many of those, but there are economic benefits as well. The shop's always open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's the perfect temperature for the baby. You never have to worry about sterilising anything, and it's quick and convenient. When the baby's crying, within moments the baby can feel calm and settled and happy, and then everybody's stress level gets better once the baby's calm and happy. So that's a big benefit, is the convenience.
I'll ask you, and certainly guide me, because I don't want to, be thinking this now and realize that you've been thinking this all along and it's wrong. But I watch my own, spouse with our children. I watch, friends and family, and the child is fussy, for want of a better word, hungry, and what the old people say, rooting. The child is looking, hey, I have time to get something to eat now. Whether you had it 5 minutes ago, whether it was a few hours, and then the moment child goes, and everything just calms. Mm-hmm. They're right there in the corner, sitting comfortably, and there's this wonderful little slurping sound or whatever, and it's all great. Is that what it's like, Miss Brooke? I mean, it just brings a peacefulness.
You know what? When it was good, it was easy. The first 3 weeks, the first couple of weeks was fine, and and it appeared to be easy. And then about 3 weeks in, I started experiencing great pain. Yeah. And which is when I reached out to the support group, because I had talked to friends, I talked to my sister, but I didn't have anyone actually helping me.
Right there now.
And someone came over to the house and actually showed me what I was doing wrong. And, my son was, nursing for an hour when he really didn't need to be on for an hour. I just thought he was very hungry.
He's a guy.
When after 10 or 15 minutes, he was actually probably done. So having, that help. But then once I got past that hurdle and, the pain was gone, then it was very easy. I mean, I preferred it over bottle feeding because, like you said, it's always there, it's available, and it was just very, very convenient.
And it's not just nutrition either, because even if you're nursing a toddler, it's a wonderful tool for temper tantrums. It's like a switch goes off when your child is in a meltdown on the floor and you put them to your breast and they're suddenly calm and peaceful. So I encourage parents to breastfeed as long as their child needs it, because it's not just for nutrition.
And after the break, can we ask about the duration that is, appropriate and nutritionally beneficial? But maybe, if it's okay, if I could ask of your experience, because I know others who had challenges at first and then it got better. Yours were good at first, but then there were some things. So it shows it's different people, different outcomes, different timing. Talk about some of the benefits and the like. And for those who are listening, I think if we can continue to advocate, for me it was economics. I make no apology for it. I mean, I paid for the rate, it's right there. Get it to go. It's good to go. But it's safer, right? It's certainly much more nutritionally beneficial for everybody. Now, is it true that it's also helpful not just for the babe, but for mom as well? So can we talk about some of those things as we talk about, Breastfeeding Week? We invite you to call and share your thoughts. If nothing else, you can hear Miss Susan say hello. Radio Cayman. She says it much better, but it's more like, hello, Radio Cayman. Is that how she says it? 949-837, 949-6990. It's a Wednesday, boy, and she's going to get me in trouble. We were just sweet. All right, when we come back from a break, we're going to invite you to be a part of our discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
If your business is over here, but your customers are over here, adding more yellow to your business will bring you both right here. With everyone searching yellows, print, online, and mobile app, getting your business noticed is easier than ever. Book your consultation today at findyellow.com.
The 2020 Yellow Directory is closing soon. Last chance. Don't miss out. Call now to sign up or renew today. 949-7027. That's 949-7027. Yellow. We know K-Man.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard. JN Money Transfer, in association with Roma United Sports Club, present the official Jamaica Independence celebrations on Friday, August 2nd. Daytime activities take place on Cardinal Avenue from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. with the best Jamaican food, arts and craft display, free sampling and free health checks. Don't miss the free lunch hour concert, plus lots of prizes and giveaways. Nighttime concert over at Crown Square on Eastern Avenue, featuring international reggae and dancehall superstar Wayne Marshall, alongside Paul Train, Dream Chasers dancers, plus lots of local performers. Come participate in the Kids Talent Contest, Best Dress Competition, Dance Contest, and Hot Wings Eating Contest. Music by DJ Marcus. Come out early to win a 40-inch TV, plus lots of giveaways and prizes. Admission is free. Sponsored by Popeyes, Best Dressed Chicken, Magnum, People's Choice Grocery, Superior Auto, Ideas Marketing, Kmart Hair and Beauty Supply, Danny's Auto, Breeze FM, and Radio Cayman.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program, because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much. They say if you love and laugh, you get to live a little bit longer. And I'm glad, very, very glad for the people who share their joy and allow me to be able to live in this land of the living as well. And I'm honored that the HSA has continued our partnership. And today, as we talk about breastfeeding support, and celebrate Breastfeeding Week, Richard, dietitian, Simone Sheehan, Abigail Parchment, together with Brooke Moore. Thanks for sharing with us. And I was just wondering during the break, sometimes a conversation like this, is it that those of us who are listening are a little bit uncomfortable? Maybe those of us who are sharing, are we, not you guys, of course. And then even myself, he said breast. Is that a chicken leg or thigh? But if we're not comfortable having conversations, whether we're talking about communicable diseases, whether we're talking about some government policy or the like, to talk respectfully, publicly and openly, will we really advance? So, your thoughts, Mr. Moore? Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very important because it all plays into the same thing of support, communication. It takes a village, as they say, and the more open someone is and the more support someone gets, the more success they will have in this journey of breastfeeding. So I agree with your point.
Then let me ask then, if we're thinking that we're in, what is it, a comedian reminds me, he says, ever since they put a man on the moon, if you can put a man on the moon, you should be able to do this. Would we not easily assume that breastfeeding, whether at home or in public, whether in a workplace and you need accommodation in your office or a special place, that should be just as everyday and common as, well, you know what, I'm going to the water cooler to refill my cup of tea or what have you? Or is it that still people are a bit reticent, there's a little bit of taboo, a little bit of myths? Miss Brooke, maybe jump in and see what your thoughts are.
I mean, I breastfed in public. I took my son everywhere. Restaurants, not that I was walking around the grocery store because it's not that easy, but
in a carrier.
Yeah. In a carrier, yeah, that's true. But I, at the beginning it was a bit different because I'm not used to having, but I always wore, I always had like the shawl or the sweater, so I did it wherever I was with my son, but I did it in a way that I was covered up because I know that some people aren't comfortable with it, even though it is a very natural thing and people have been doing it for thousands of years. I know that I try to respect that some people may not be as comfortable with it as I am doing so.
Right, but then too, if again I'm just thinking, some of us, because of just our lifestyle, maybe the timing, we're taking a bite to eat as we're walking from the building to the next meeting or across the office even, sandwich, a patty or something. We're munching on this thing. candy bar, chocolate.
Your mama never told you not to eat on the street?
Apparently, yeah. But I didn't listen. Don't tell her that. But we do that. We're in our cars with an apple or with something else. So we do eat, in a sense. Some of us maybe should be a little bit more considerate with our choices as well. So why shouldn't the child equally? And why shouldn't we accommodate? It's good to see the products that are available. This mums with this thing to help to support the child, and she's about her daily chores, doing her thing while she's, making sure the baby's okay.
I think what you said, Brooke, is great. You're being considerate of other people as well, but some people don't have that option either. Some babies absolutely hate to be covered up. And, I think that you can be discreet no matter how you breastfeed in public. But again, like you said, it's the baby's food. It's it doesn't have to be hidden away. If the mother feels more comfortable with that, then fine. But I've seen the meme that says, "Oh, you're uncomfortable with my breastfeeding? Why don't you put a bag over your head?"
It's a thought. But even what, we can laugh, but let's think of it too. I mean, we're eating. We're walking somewhere in public on the sidewalk, and we're eating. Have we considered the crumbs in our beard or the whatever it is, how other people receive? If I could ask, just prior to the break, you were sharing with it, if it's okay. Some I know, some mothers have shared that their experiences initially are, oh man, this is just daunting. I don't think I can do this. Yours were, hey, this is easy, good going, and then boom, you hit a bump in the road. So share with us, and then see whether the coin sometimes is on the heads or it's on the tails.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before the break, I had. Everything started fine. The midwives at the hospital, showed me different ways to hold him. My son was very small and premature. And then a few weeks in, it was getting very painful, and that's when I reached out to the breastfeeding support group. And they came over to my house, showed me a better way to hold him, and it was all about the way I was holding him and the length of time that I had him on, which I hadn't thought about. And as a mom, as a new mom, there's all these things going through your head, and you're thinking of like all the ways to troubleshoot and to make things better. And then I got to almost to a breaking point where I said I don't want to give up, but the pain was on one side. One was fine, and it was like the pain was so severe that I was I'm either going to call the breastfeeding support group or I'm going to give up. That's where I was, and luckily they kind of coached me through, and I did alternative method. I did some pumping on one side to give it a break in order to allow things to kind of heal, and finally was able, after a couple weeks, was able to get back to where it was easy again.
But at that level of support and nurturing and encouragement, I think is important, because honestly, I can only imagine that if it's a discomfort, you buy a new shoe, you wear it, hopefully it'll break in, and it doesn't. Eventually you say, you know what, it's $100 pair of shoes or $10 pair of shoes, I'm tossing them aside. My foot and discomfort isn't worth it. But this isn't a pair of shoes, this is life as it is.
And Brooke, as I was listening to you, I heard something. It's not uncommon, I think, for women to think, this is normal, I can do this, I should be able to do this. You said it came to a point that it was either call the breastfeeding support group or give up. But I think a lot of women feel like that, like this, I should be able to do this. What I would say is that as a matter of course, any woman can call the breastfeeding support group, because it doesn't have to get that bad before you get support. But as strong, professional women, we often, feel like we should be able to hold this all together. But that's the reason that the breastfeeding support group is there, because we're very passionate about getting it right. And we know that it can be a struggle. And so often when you're in that, you feel that you're the only one who's ever had that kind of problem.
Yeah. And I can understand why you share. I mean, women have been doing it for thousands of years. Surely, I mean, I have all the tools. Why? This should be it. Let me ask the timing. You referenced the timing. Again, I haven't breastfed, from that perspective, so forgive me. You would think, the child knows, how much she needs, and she'll go at it, and when she's done, she'll come off. That's what I thought I heard. Is that the case? Or you say, nope, you've had a 5-minute snack, time to go, or you'll feel. Is that a valid question for that nursing mother to say, okay, when do I know enough is enough?
Well, I think you can't time it as in a specific time, right. 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 minutes. as you get more experience with breastfeeding, I think you get a sense of when your breasts are full, when they're not, when you get to know your baby, because there's so much bonding and skin to skin, and you really get to observe your baby while they're feeding for a while. So you can tell, and sometimes they just fall asleep on the breast and not actively, sucking and drinking. So, it's important to take them off and give yourself a break, but also for the baby. But I think, it is important to try and be sure to do the best you can in terms of emptying one breast first before you move on to the second breast. That's still the recommendation.
Yes, and Sterling is right. The baby should know when they're full, but a lot of times the baby might not be latched on well. No, baby's not just greedy. They have to double their weight in 6 months. Is any one of us doing that?
I wouldn't want
No, thank goodness.
But you know what? I need to clarify at this point, because you've said HSA, but I need to make it clear that I am not at HSA, because I could get in trouble with what I'm about to say if I am at HSA.
Okay, she's not HSA, she's in radio breastfeeding support group. Yeah, okay.
A lot of times what happens is that we set ourselves up for breastfeeding failure by buying into things that will make our pregnancy and labour and delivery easier. Things like cesarean sections, any kind of birth intervention can have a negative impact on breastfeeding. Breastfeeding has so many facets to it. It's not just the mother, it's the baby. And if any of the nerves in the face have been disrupted or are dulled through anesthetic or narcotic pain medication, then, and the mum, if she's not up to her best either, then something is going to give.
Her health is important to be able to not just support the child, but to produce the sustenance the child needs.
And sometimes our medical interventions they're great. They're absolutely vital and necessary. But sometimes they may get overused just because things seem easier at the get-go when they might set you up for all of these complications for something that should be completely normal.
I think that's why having professionals, having a support group.
And I'm not at HSE.
Yeah. Okay, she's not at HSE. But thank you for sharing that. And I think this is why it's important for us to be able to, you look at the parent who is the first child, and then the parent who has the second child, and then the third child. And it may not necessarily get easier, but with the experience, you get to understand, things, and you watch the child. The joke is, the first child, the playground is sterilized. The third child, he's not a toxic waste dump. Yeah, no problem. He'll be okay. It's similar, right?
Don't worry about the seatbelt. It's fine. Just jump around the boot.
Exactly. But you get to that point. On the way, a little bit earlier, a mother who's... I don't know how old the child is, but not yet a year old. So she's still, I said nursing. Is that the right word to use? That's okay? Okay. That's the word she used. So she wanted to know when I was leaving, what was the discussion. And she asked if I could ask on her behalf. Make sure I got this right now. So the child was feeding, and when the child finishes, the child just stays there. And, she just holds and does the burping business and then puts the child back. And the child likes to just, rub the belly and kind of do stuff. And she was been thinking, because apparently someone must have said to her, well, you don't want a child to get comfortable there because it's whatever. But she thought, hey, that's great. You're right there. I've just fed you. You're comforting. It's sort of like taking a little nap after you had your siesta, after you had your meal. And she was wondering, is that a bad practice to encourage the child? Do you just feed, burp, and there you go? Or do you cuddle and hold and enjoy the bonding?
There are some who think that breastfeeding gives the wrong connotation for what's happening between a mother and child in that experience. And some people call it mothering at the breast, because it's not just about nutrition.
Okay.
So, it's about that bonding, about that closeness. Skin to skin, period, with anybody is wonderful. And that's what's happening when you have a child at your breast.
Okay. Well, we didn't get into it, but she was asking, and she shared some, and she asked to share. And the reason why she was, because obviously a new mom, but unsure, and she shared that she did a little experiment. Now, like I said, the child isn't a year, I don't think. I don't know. I should have paid attention. She did say how old the child is. Sorry, I didn't. But she shared that she, after hearing this, feed, put you down, and all is good. And the child sit there and would kind of fuss a little bit. My interpretation of what she shared. But by doing this thing, the child would nap longer, much more content when the child awakens, and it's just a better disposition by allowing the child to stay in, I don't know what you want to call it, bond. That's how I put it. And I thought, if that works, it's like stretching after the exercise. You had a good exercise, and do you just get up and get back to your car and go home, or do you properly stretch, cool down, and then do your thing. Kind of how I was trying to remember it so I could ask you. Appreciate it. See, men can learn, you know. Sometimes.
All the time.
And I mean, I think if it's your first child versus your third child, you may have other chores that need to be done around the home.
Right.
You may need to be, you might still be working, so you may need to be checking things on your computer. So to a certain extent, when the baby's little, you can still do a lot of those functions, but as the baby grows, you may have to, just to be able to get a bit more of a work-life feeding balance, to be able to take the baby off the breast, because if the baby's had a feed and has 5 minutes extra comfort time on the breast, it is possible to break the seal, lay the baby in the crib and do what is necessary. So, you know, some mums find that very difficult, like that cluster feeding that babies go through, where it feels like they are on the breast all day and all night, and it's very tiring for mum too, because sometimes, you know, you don't often even get time for a shower or to eat something or to do some of the other functions. So if you have other children in the house, it can be hard to be just indulge in just the baby, you know, because you may have other things to balance out.
Okay.
Well, I know that you don't want to just focus on the dads or the partners, but that comes back to the theme for this year as well, because a lot of times we think that the parenting responsibilities might just be primarily for the mother. But the dad, while he cannot breastfeed, there's certainly a lot of other important aspects of parenting that he will contribute to and take some of that load off, especially if mum has a small baby that she needs to focus so many hours with feeding on.
Well, I was going to ask you now, Miss Susan reminds me of a break. I do apologize. We're going to take a break, final break. When we come back, could we ask about what can we as a supporting cast, the dad, the others, sort of players in this, you know, what can we do to ensure that mum is, you know, adequately cared for, gets the opportunities? I mean, you shared sometimes she doesn't get a chance to take a shower. We don't even realize how taxing it can be. All right. If you want to be a part of a discussion, the phone lines are available if you so choose. We invite you to stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Get half off a complete pair of glasses with any student's eye exam now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in Caymanian Village.
We all have different body shapes and heights. That's why it's crucial to have your garments altered that suit your body correctly. Exotic Fashion Alteration Service is second to none, with decades of experience and very low prices. Get all of your uniforms, alterations, and sewing needs done with Exotic Fashion, located across Ashley Furniture and next door to Taster's Choice, home of the $3 special in the Industrial Park, or call 945-9113. Exotic Fashions, because you deserve perfection.
CUC advises customers on Mount Pleasant Road in West Bay that they will experience interruptions to their electrical service on Thursday, August 1st between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Areas affected include customers on Mount Pleasant Road between the junction with Meadow Lane and the junction with Parkview Crescent, including Pleasant Drive, Avakshi Lane, and Leona Lane. Residents on Parkview Crescent will not be affected. Residents on Meadow Avenue East to the shores will experience interruptions to their service for 1 hour between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. This includes Meadow Avenue, Broca Close, Up the Hill Road, Capiche Lane, Glade Drive, Pleasant Hill Road, Bonneville Drive, Adonis Drive, Lynette Crescent, Yates Drive, Shorelink Terrace, Radiant Lane, Bayshore Drive, Shorescape Lane, Shorewinds Trail, Shoreview Point, Shoreline Drive, and Shorecrest Circle. Motorists are asked to drive with caution when utilizing Mount Pleasant Road, as CUC will have a number of vehicles and personnel in the area and will be deploying rumble strips and signage to manage the traffic flow. CUC apologizes for this interruption, which is necessary to facilitate required overhead infrastructure upgrades to provide our customers with safe, reliable, and efficient power. For more information on the outage and streets affected, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Looking for a new car? We can give you a zillion reasons to switch to electric. They cost you less to run. They helps to save the planet. They are free charging stations all across Grand Cayman. Low maintenance needs. They're quiet both inside and out. And they're the future. But most of all, the government has reduced custom duties on electric cars. For cars valued below $30,000, you now don't have to pay anything. Visit the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure Facebook page for more information on electric cars.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm glad that we can have these conversations, whether we're talking about, other health issues, whether we're advocating for education. In this case, it's the 2-in-1 breastfeeding. So, Mr. Simone, thank you, and to Abby and to Brooke for sharing with us. And hopefully the young mothers, who are looking forward to a healthy birth in short order, to those mothers who are or would-be mothers in the future thinking, this is a modern world, I can just go down and buy the formula and do whatever it is that you do to make it, that they will not, at least not consider breastfeeding. Maybe that'll become a priority. Now, I'm speaking from a man's perspective, maybe I don't know what I'm saying. So as mothers, is breastfeeding, is that really what they say, or is it all hype?
Oh no, it's very true. We were just discussing in the break, if someone said to you, okay, we have a way of reducing your risk of diabetes, obesity, heart disease, cancer. We have a way of raising your IQ. We have a way of reducing your risk of eczema, asthma, gastrointestinal infections. If someone said to you, I have something that can do all of that for you, would you accept it?
You
certainly would. And that is what breastfeeding and breast milk does for the baby. And it sets them up for a future. That doesn't mean, of course, that if you breastfeed, you're never going to get any of those conditions. But the risk is lower when a baby is breastfed from birth, and exclusively for the first 6 months. So it is a panacea for potential good health in the future. So the question is really, can you afford not to breastfeed? Yeah. That's really the question.
So those are the benefits for the child. What about for the mom? I mean, because she's obviously going through a lot. Pain and discomfort. She's tired. Well, what do they say? What's in it for me? So what is it in it for her? Does she benefit as well?
Yeah, for sure. There's 101 reasons to breastfeed, scientifically documented. You can even go and Google that. There's someone compiled a list that has backing to each one of those things for mum, baby, dad, environment, workplace, you name it. Everybody benefits. There are certain cancers that a mum's risk would be lower for. She gets her figure back quicker. Her postpartum bleeding will be shorter if she breastfeeds. And just that wonderful bond again that we've talked about so many times this afternoon, it's always going to be there between her and that child that she's fed in this wonderful way. So it cannot be discounted. But I would hesitate to say that breast is best, because that makes it sound like an ideal that we can't achieve.
Okay.
Breast is normal. So they're not smarter if they breastfeed. They might not be as smart if they bottle feed with formula.
But the thing is, I'm thinking just biologically, there's a mum, there's a baby. They're all one and the same in the sense of, it came from the same cloth, as it were. And it's not this thing that's formulated in the factory that, okay, well, this is for everybody. This is, what's the word the politicians like to use these days when they come bespoke. So this is bespoke for the...
I love it.
Yeah, but this is tailor-made for that child because presumably Mother A's breast milk for her child is different from Mother B's. Scientifically, that's
exactly.
Even though they may have been born at the same time, they may even be related. It's different. So it's bespoke.
Yes, because it's a two-way communication. The child will be communicating with the mother via the breast as well. Even if the child is exposed to certain pathogens, they're going to let the mother know through the breast, and the mother's body will make the things to fight off whatever the child is exposed to.
Wow. That magic thing that you talk about, huh?
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
So why is it then that there is, well, should I ask then instead, is there still some reticence, some reluctance, some little thing that some of us in society, including, mothers, that hinder us or may cause us to say, well, I'm not sure I want to breastfeed, or are we gravitating towards it? I mean, do we jump at it, or are we still a little reluctant to breastfeed?
I think 99% of mums jump at it to start.
Okay.
But if there's difficulty, then the numbers drop off. And we did a little survey some years ago, a colleague of mine, when I was at the HSA, and she found that there was a dramatic drop off at 4 months. I should note that they didn't test at 3 months. They did 2 months and 4 months and 6 months. And what happens in Cayman after 4 months or 3 months? Mums often go back to work. And so that's a huge challenge as well, a big obstacle, if you will. Not insurmountable, but definitely adds more complexity to the breastfeeding relationship.
Okay. So then you referenced time, Nurse Simone said 6 months continuously. So is there I won't say ideal, but is there a preferred or recommended, a really acceptable timeline that you should breastfeed? Should you do up until 8 months, 15 months?
Yes.
Okay.
And beyond.
And beyond. All right.
As long as the child needs to be nourished or have their immune system boosted or have that developmental boon at the breast, then it should be available. Of course, within the context of the family, as long as those in the family are happy with that. But in countries where children are allowed to wean themselves at their own pace, the weaning age probably looks more like 5 or 6 years old than or 1 year or 2 years that we seem to strive for here in the Western world.
Well, the WHO recommendation is exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months and then continued breastfeeding for up to 2 years. And you can go beyond that and beyond. But that to get to 2 years can be very challenging. But exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, that is one of the major goals or indicators that we're trying to push forward. And that's why workplace support for breastfeeding mums is so important. And I always say to people that I know, they say in the parent craft classes, I tell them it's good before they go and have their babies to have those conversations with their employers rather than come back to work and then spring it on them. Oh, by the way, I'd like to continue breastfeeding, and no preparation while I'm back at work and no real preparation had been made. Or, so people can speak to their employers while they may not have extended maternity leave. They may have flexibility in terms of start times, finish times, flexibility in terms of potentially baby being brought to the office, things like that. So having the conversation with your employer is very advantageous well in advance before baby's born, so that some form of a solution can be determined before you're in the deep end and you're back to work, and then all of a sudden you find it's not as friendly, or it might be a more hostile environment towards your breastfeeding than you had anticipated. And something I wanted to mention about one of the other major advantages of breastfeeding as well is the environmental impact and footprint that it doesn't leave, because you don't use cans, you don't use bottles, you don't use electricity, you're not overusing water. You have a massive impact on landfill and so especially with babies with diapers and all the other things that they need, that has a massive impact on the environment. But at least if you breastfeed, and so many people are green these days and want to be greener, and breastfeeding is a wonderful way as well to have that positive impact on the environment.
A quick comment came in in relation to exclusive for the first 6 months. Does that mean that you do not give the child some water, for instance? just the breast milk if you can. Nothing else.
Even in hot Cayman.
Even in hot Cayman, no coconut water, no water from no herbal teas, no cerasee, just the child can get everything.
Everything.
Okay. All right.
Hydration, nutrition, immunity, everything they need.
Wow.
Because if the baby's thirsty, it's going to seek out the breast more, because the first thing that the baby gets is what's called the foremilk, and that is a watery, with some lactose in it, a watery drink, and that quenches the thirst right away. And then the hind milk comes, which has more of the fat and the protein and some of the other nutrients. So if the baby's thirsty, they're going to want to drink more. They will let you know by sort of providing cues, whether it's rooting or crying or sucking on their hands, to let you know that they want more to drink.
We got two other things we want to quickly ask before we go. One is there anything the mum can do to help her production? And then secondly, how do people get information on the support group and the like?
Wonderful.
If you don't mind, I would comment on the production. That was another challenge that I had. When my son was about 2 months old, we realized his weight gain was quite low, between 4 and 8 weeks, but he was happy. He didn't cry. I assumed everything was fine, and so I seeked out a lactation consultant and found out that I actually wasn't producing enough to keep my baby on track to gain weight. And there was lots of things that I hadn't thought about. You mentioned, like, sometimes moms don't have a chance to eat or to shower, but if the mom doesn't eat, the baby's not getting enough milk, it's not getting the nutrients, and there was lots of days where I'd go all day and not have time to eat, or would eat a quick snack but not nutritious, and you're so caught up in taking care of this new child, you kind of forget that you have to take care of you in order to then help take care of the baby. And that's something that I kind of didn't connect those dots, which helped a little bit.
Would sound simple and obvious, but all right. So, and then to get as we go to our news, to get in contact with the breastfeeding support, people want information, what do we do?
Some of the easiest ways are to get on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/CI breastfeeding, or you can simply call the maternity HSA hospital and they will be able to assist you or direct you to the proper support as well.
Well, I'm going to commend the women that do it, for those who are the supporting cast, for encouraging. Final thoughts, Ms. Simone?
Thank you as always for supporting us in this journey, and we really do appreciate that opportunity to talk about a very important subject.
Well, you've made me not only very cognizant of it, but very, very knowledgeable. So I'm going to pause and take a break. When we come back, we'll have some more talk today.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
On Friday, August 2nd, Cardinal Avenue between Harbour Drive and Albert Panton Street will be closed from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. to facilitate Jamaica's independence celebrations at the location. On Saturday, August 3rd, the Saturday Night Live in Georgetown event will be taking place on the Georgetown waterfront from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. While Harbour Drive will remain open, the side lane between the North and South Cruise terminals will be a part of the event, and heavy foot traffic is expected. Motorists are advised to exercise caution when traveling in the area on Saturday evening. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Israel has approved the construction of 6,000 new homes for Jewish settlers and 700 homes for Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. The decision about new homes and settlements further extends the Israeli presence in the West Bank, but it is Israel's approval for Palestinian homes that is unusual. A second person has died of Ebola on the Democratic Republic of Congo's border with Rwanda, raising fears the deadly illness could spread. The artisanal miner died this morning in the city of Goma, home to 2 million people. More than 1,600 people have died of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo since the outbreak began in August of 2018, but those have been in more remote areas. And Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered the army to help tackle massive wildfires raging in Siberia and other regions in the east. The decision was taken after Mr. Putin was briefed on the growing crisis by the head of the emergency ministry. About 7.4 million acres have been affected in what Greenpeace is describing as an ecological catastrophe. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
I just love the warm ocean air.
Yeah? Your car doesn't.
What you mean?
Looks like salt air is eating your bump alive.
Stop rust before it starts with Z-Bot Rust Protection from Vant Motors. The extreme heat, salt spray, and wet tropical weather can damage your vehicle and greatly decrease its value. But Z-Bot's patented formula protects your car's metal seams, joints, and other hidden areas. There's no better rust protection out there than Z-Bot. So book today and keep the rust away. Call or visit Vant Motors Body Shop on Walkers Road. Your only authorized Z-Bot service in Cayman is now available at Vant Motors.
You like having options. So, Western Union is giving you another way to send a money transfer around the world with Western Union's direct-to-bank money transfer option. Visit a Western Union agent location and you could start sending money directly to qualifying bank accounts in over 60 countries. Best of all, it's for one flat transfer fee to send any amount direct to a bank account. Visit a Western Union agent location to learn more and start sending money transfers direct to bank accounts today. Western Union.
Western Union also makes money from currency exchange. When choosing a money transmitter, compare fees and exchange rates, which may vary based on a number of factors and are subject to change.
Always separate debris from household garbage after a hurricane hits. Debris includes roofing materials, downed tree branches, and metals. All items of debris must be placed in separate piles to the front of the property or at a side that is easily accessible to collection trucks. Debris must be placed in a location that will not cause obstruction to roadways or come in contact with electrical lines. For more post-hurricane waste management tips, visit the DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
The Miss Cayman Islands Universe Committee is inviting you to our pageant on 17th August, 7 p.m. at the Ritz-Carlton. The committee continues to empower young Caymanian ladies to become role models in the community. So come out and see our 6 beautiful contestants vie for the title of Miss Cayman Islands Universe. The winner will represent us at the Miss Universe pageant. Get your tickets today at Funky Tangs and Sand Angels.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. And we invite you to be a part of some open line as we get a chance to share with you any particular concern. You may have a comment, a query, a question. You may just want to share an insight. I invite you to be part of Talk Today. 949-8037, 949-6990. Likewise, you can send us your thoughts on our WhatsApp, 925-3261. Very, very special thanks to our last guests for joining us, for not just supporting and promoting and encouraging, breastfeeding, but for, giving us a perspective of the health benefits, both for the child and for the nursing mother as well. And for those of us who are the supporting cast, whether we're a spouse, whether we're family members, friends, whether we're the lactation consultants, medical personnel and the like, but the co-workers and colleagues and the employers, that we're providing not just a safe place, but a proper place for nursing mothers to be able to continue to breastfeed as they return to work. It is obviously a challenge to, probably more so for some, to balance the working career and the whole issue of family and friends and social life and the like. So getting that balance correct is important. But think about it. That child, who's in the world now, and that first, few months, few years of life, if we can give that child every opportunity to be healthy, to provide, as we understand, the benefits of breastfeeding, provide for the child the health benefits, the benefits for the child's, intellectual development, and that's going to translate into something even better down the road as the child grows, enters school, sort of participates in society, into the working world, into adulthood. If we're doing it right and we're given every conceivable age, and we can do that for all of our children, wouldn't it be a better place? Well, invite you now to be a part of our discussion. 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261 as I check the different information and messages here that are coming through. When you wish to share a thought with us, with the greatest of respect, if it's on our WhatsApp, please either type it across or text to speech, or however you do that, or you record a voice note. The WhatsApp line, if you ring it, we probably can't and won't answer it like that. If you want to send an email, well, talktoday@candw.ky is our email address. If you choose otherwise, so I'll encourage and invite you to call 949-6990, 949-8037. Of course, toll free with the compliments of flow, 1-800-534-8255. Now, Friday, the Honourable Premier made a statement to the Legislative Assembly in relation to the cruise berthing facility. On Monday, there was a press briefing. Yesterday, we had the good privilege of having not only the Honourable Premier, but the Honourable Deputy, who's also the Minister for District Administration, Tourism and Transport, under which the port project would fall and the like. And then we had a Chief Officer in that ministry join us, and they were able to share some information, and perhaps that provided greater clarity for more of us. Perhaps it has asked in our minds, well, some other questions. Well, hopefully we'll have a sense of a continuing discussion and dialogue, and as the debate unfolds, that we'll be positioned to be able to not only advocate our position, but we'll be able to perhaps advance certain issues with the intent that we're doing the best for the most for the longest time, that issue of the greater good. Well, what is on your mind? 949-8037, 949-6990, or likewise, you can WhatsApp 925-3261 as we invite you to share a thought with us. Now, I must share that in recent times, I haven't been looking at a whole lot of the sort of legislation or the financial sort of media accounts that relate to our financial services industry. There was a time when it seemed that constantly, whether it was the FATF or the OECD or this, that, or the next thing, some lists, black, white, or grey, Cayman was jumping through hoops. Now, some may have seen it through one of those paid publications. Some may have found it through another vein, and then eventually hits the local media. But the idea that sometimes financial service providers here are involved in not only litigation in our jurisdiction, but in multiple jurisdictions. And a fellow just in passing asked the question, to what extent is Cayman as a country, not just as a particular sector, whether it's the tourism sector, whether it's the financial services sector, cognizant, managing and monitoring issues in the international media that could portray a particular image, reputational damage, but as well as the image of safety and security. He gave us an example, certain destinations that rely heavily on tourism, if there are sort of a spate of crimes in relation to attacks on visitors, that could have a negative impact on that destination. And so people visiting may be advised, even sometimes by its own government, don't go there, it's not safe. There may be travel advisories, they just, because of the social media, people might not feel. So he asked the question, one, looking at the importance of our two sectors of financial services and tourism, if we look at the tourism sector, we're making sure that there's this warm, welcome, inviting, very friendly and hospitable atmosphere extended to all who visit here, whether they're spending a night whether they will spend a month, or when they're visiting, whether they're staying in the most expensive, accommodation, or whether they're trying to find a budget-conscious, stay, that they're being treated in a way that would, one, leave them with a great impression, and two, maybe encourage them to return again. And he's sharing, are we conscious now, maybe with increased numbers of people here and increased numbers of people who are visiting, perhaps having an increased police presence on our beaches, on our roads, just being visible, would that convey a sense of safety and security, or would that allow a faster response should the need arise, and whether we as a populace are more accommodating to those who visit? And he had two sort of questions or concerns. One was the whole issue of the new license plates that identify on it, says rental or taxi or whatever it is, but the ones that say rental, would we as a people now see that, just like it was the white license plate in the past, that we were more accommodating, more sort of welcoming and helpful? Oh, that's a rental plate, probably not sure where they're going, let's be helpful. Or are we very, very offensive and not so helpful, and if anything else, probably respond in a way that causes even greater fear and a greater loss of sort of sense of security on the part who are visiting and then are driving on the roads? Not only that they may not be accustomed to the roundabouts, or they may not be accustomed to the fact that we drive on one side of the road that's different from where they are, from normally. Maybe it's the road markings. Maybe the roads aren't marked as clearly. Maybe the stop signs not as visible. Maybe the road names, all sorts of things, the pace of development. And he was asking, and he actually suggested that perhaps we're not, just in general, are not that considerate on our roads, and are we perhaps doing potentially more risk at, one, deterring our tourists, and two, putting them at risk by the way we treat those who use our roads, who are driving the rental plates. And he shared, it isn't that's because you're in a rental car that means that you're a visitor, a tourist. Your car could be in a shop. You could have friends down. You could just be in need of an extra car for a couple of days. Now, likewise, he also said, what are we doing to make sure that the people feel safe, whether they're at the restaurants, whether they're at the beach, whether they're just walking around the town area or the like? Now, to what extent do you think we're being hospitable and we're showing that we value those who come to visit? Doesn't matter whether they've visited for the first time or they've lost count over the decades of the times they've visited. Doesn't matter if they have billions at their disposal, or whether this was a spur of the moment and they can't afford it, or whether they've saved extensively. Or does it matter? What is your view? 949-837, 949-6990. Let's pause quickly and give you a chance to share that with us when we come back. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we have the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Get half off a complete pair of glasses with any student's eye exam now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in Caymanian Village.
There are plenty of reasons to be a Logic customer. There's lightning-fast internet connectivity. There's the great overall customer experience. And now, you can improve your Wi-Fi connectivity with Logic Boost Wi-Fi for free. With Boost, you can extend your freedom to stream, game, and download seamlessly anywhere in your home, like your patio or your underground lair if you have one. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Hi there, it's contestant number 4 for the Miss Cayman Islands Universe 2019, Alika Backford, representing Bodden Town. I have a soft spot for youth, and that's why I'm so excited to have the Alex Panther Foundation for this year's platform. Currently, I'm a student pursuing my bachelor's in management study. I love capturing the right moment with my Nikon D70, and I'm a dog whisperer for my dog Night. It's an honor to be the face of Airport Professional Services and Bella's Beauty and Barber Studio. Secretly, I have a love for the underwater world, and I hope one day to be a certified diver. It's a magical affair on August the 17th at Ritz-Carlton. Be there and be amazed.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. It is indeed a wonderful Wednesday, and a fellow said to me earlier, said, man, he was always looking forward to a little rain. Thought that was in the forecast. Next thing, another guy said, you see, that's the problem. You're inside, you happy for the rain, I'm outside working. All a matter of perspective, you know. A rain to one is a blessing. If it waters the plants and gives some free water in the cistern, and if you do not have to be as it is, sometimes inconvenience, you can't get the driveway poured, you're not able to do the block lane or the fishing or the lake because of the rain. Why I share that is that the two days we're talking about a matter of perspective, and what is it that we're reminded of? One man's meat is another man's poison. It all depends on where you stand. And I say that to share that as the two then were discussing the notion, there was just a light little drizzle earlier, and that's what sparked his thought. He says, the port. If we're looking at the port, are we looking at it from an objective perspective? When we criticize the government, is it because we have an agenda? We want to be the next government. We want the government to look bad. We want, and there's this sort of ulterior motive. But likewise, he said, when we are supporting the government in relation to the port, is it because we believe, one, there's going to be something in it for us, more business, maybe we'll get paid to be a mouthpiece, a PR consultant, some sort of advocate for it. Where is that very clear-cut, objective, impartial perspective? They both agreed. Probably doesn't exist, because either way, one, there's probably something someone's going to get from advancing, advocating that particular perspective. And two, even if there wasn't, the perception is that there is. So how do you win? And they agreed. I was hoping that they would be willing to call in and share a thought with us, but they both agreed that the port in particular is one of those issues that unfortunately has become so heavily politicized that you probably won't be able to get anything. And even 50 years from now, when we review the historical record, will there be a sufficiently written account of what transpired for there to be an objective after the fact analysis? That notion that hindsight is 20/20, and the view that there are going to be those who win, those who feel that they lost more than they should have or could have or would have been willing to had they been in a different position. There is the obvious environmental impact. Now, how do you roll the dice on this is what they're asking. The notion, one of the older gentlemen shared in the group, he said that we've been talking about this for so long. He said that's not in itself, in his mind, good enough to say let's get on with it. Because you can be talking about something for a long time, but you're not really making it in a sense, making it headway because you're not offering anything positive and productive and constructive. Yes, talk, no action. It's probably frustrating, but if you're not able to convince, if you don't have all your ducks in a row, then you need to talk some more in order to be able to get something properly. He said as an example, he was trying to assist a young couple with getting their home before they wanted their home before they got married so they could move in. Wonderful loft. He said objective. certainly one that was feasible, but there were a few things that were wrong. And I don't think this would identify anyone. I don't think it would be sort of speaking of the school, but I share it with you, and certainly invite you, the public, to say, well, maybe you shared too much or it doesn't relate. But he said to the young couple, he said, listen, one, you set your wedding date. I'll give you the example, next month. You want your house built. Well, the planning process takes longer. You need to get your drawings. You got to decide what you want. So is it reasonable now that you're going to have your house, finished before your wedding date? Is it that the wedding date next month on this date important? Well, if it is, then either A, you recognize that you'll have to wait until after to get the house, or B, do you postpone the wedding? Okay, if you decide that you can't or won't postpone the wedding, and it's not reasonable to get the house done in that time, then make some other thing. But in the process of deciding on the house, well, what's your style, what size, where, get everything in place, and then once you decide on that, have a look at the drawings. Cheaper to change the drawing and the design on paper than it is for the contractor to knock down a wall and put on a 2-story when you had a 1-story, or knock off the 2-story because you want a 1-story. Get your drawings done properly and get a chance to sort of live in the house through the drawings until you feel comfortable, that you understand, I like switches there, I like it on this wall instead, or I would like one here as well as there. Things that may take a little bit of time, cost a few dollars as you go through the planning process, but not only should it be cheaper in the end, but should bring greater satisfaction. And he said he likened that with the port. Now, the difference is that, the house may cost $300,000, and the port may be $200 million or $300 million or whatever the sum is at the end of the day. Now, the government has said, hey, we now have a final design, we now have cost in, this is what it's going to cost. Is it reasonable to expect cost overruns? Are we going to be unfair and say, well, like the projects of the past, like the airport now, a $60 million project is $100 million because of A, B, and C. Is it reasonable to assume, well, you're dealing not on land but in water, so all sorts of things can materialize? Now, are there things that we should know, could know, would want to know, not just to reduce the chances of these things costing more because of potentially unforeseen, unexpected occurrences, but equally, are there things that we could put in place that, had we taken a little bit more time, as the gentleman shared, that we could avoid those things? Now, end of the day, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? Who's driving it? And the like. Well, I can assure you from my perspective that perhaps one, I believe that those who sit by the table, as the Honourable Premier said yesterday, mean well. They want the very best. They're not going to deliberately and maliciously set out to do something that would destroy the country's people, its ecology, its environment, and the like. Now, that may not be shared by all. And two, if you don't say what you're thinking or stand up for what you believe, well, it's on you or on me. Whoever doesn't do it, nobody can do it for you. Now, can you do it in a way that is respectful? Do you put enough sort of an informed perspective into your actions that people say, well, I got to admire your conviction, at least you believe in this. And it's like the person who realizes that that tree in the yard that has bore so much fruit over the decades is now in need of great attention. And you do everything to sort of nurture the tree. Does it spring back to life and bear for another season? Or has it finally succumbed to, the elements? And like everything, maybe time takes its toll. But if you don't try to do what you can to prune the tree, give it sufficient water and fertilizing and the like, well, what's going to happen? Well, you tell me. 949-8037, 949-6990. As we approach the 1:30 break, quick short break. I can't promise you that I won't indulge in a little bit of chocolate, because it's good for the spirit, man. Keeps the body rolling, the mind sharp, and the sweet taste on the lips even better some days. It's a Wednesday. Now, how much trouble do you want us to cause today? Well, it's up to you. It's a good day to have some fun. It's a better day to share your thoughts. And as we look at the roadworks, maybe that's a thought you may want to share with us when we come back. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
a caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit K, where people come first.
The best back-to-school sale is now at Reflections. Buy one, get one half price on all back-to-school shoes. Over 100 styles of your favorite brands. Nike, Adidas, Puma, Reebok, and more. Back-to-school savings on shoes for toddlers, children, teens, and adults. Buy one pair, get the second pair half price. Or buy one pair of shoes and get a backpack half priced. The best back-to-school sale at Reflections. Now located on Shedden Road, across from Napa Auto Parts. Beside Mango Tree. Reflections.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us. 949-8037, 949-6990. And at some point, I'll figure out which button to press on this laptop. Miss Susan, I promise you I won't take them all. I won't take the hacksaw or the thing about it. I'll figure out how to touch it. We'll get it to work. Must be my hands are so electric. 949-8037. Miss Susan says, press the button that says power. It's open line. Call and share your thoughts with us. Got a couple of things I want to share with you. One in particular, I was considering, how do I say it? Do I share it the way the guy sent it through to me? Do I not say it because it's going to rub people the wrong way? I didn't flip a coin, but I probably will say it because you know what? Sometimes you just need to know where you want to know which way the current is going. You throw it down in the water. Well, let's get to that. But let me ask you to join me in discussing a few things that some of you have shared. We're just quickly doing a break, made a quick note just to make sure that we looked at all the messages that came through with the comments. So I'll list them quickly and we'll talk about them. One had to do with the roads and the roadworks and the timing, not just that potentially we could be seeing a lot of potential rains some days and delays, and then not just the time of year, but equally the time of day that the roadworks continue. Is it impeding traffic? One individual sent through a quick video that I believe it was last week Tuesday. I should look at it more closely, where he said it was the roundabout by, I call it Galleria, that section there that goes to the bypass and goes off the Westbury Road. there was some roadworks there, and he complained that he was trying to get back to the ship with his passengers, and it was, for some reason, the roads were blocked, and midday, 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon, trying to catch the ship, it created a problem for him. Another individual said the roundabout by what he calls the Island Heritage Roundabout, yes, the NRA made an announcement that come 1st of July, come July, they're going to start working on this roundabout. They're going to be doing work for 2 months or so. He thought, okay, great, excellent, perfect. Now, the first week of July, he says, and I must confess, I take that route fairly often as well, so I can relate to it. I don't know that I'm being overly dismissive of it, or maybe I'm not, thankfully, not in a great rush these days to go and come, so maybe I'm not so concerned. But hey, some of you don't have as much time on your hands, you're rushing to get back to work because you have to take the child to one spot and then the other child to another spot, and your employer mightn't be as able to understand and accommodate your delays. Maybe it's just the fact that you are the employer and your clients are waiting for you. But he shared that the first week of July, Monday was a holiday, little or no work. The second week, and now we're at the end of July, and his views here. I won't repeat it the way he wrote it, but his views are really nothing has happened. Very little is going on. Again, I'm not a road guy. I'm not trying to malign the NRA. I'm sure the engineers and the experts there know exactly what they're doing and what needs to be done. But I must share that as a motorist, if the roads are not working, sometimes we need to be a little bit more accommodating, but sometimes we need to be willing to hold those who are in an authority a lot more accountable. So share with us, because we are on our roads a lot. And then the other point had to do with the notion of the way we drive on our roads. There's this idea that we're seemingly, driving so close to the car in front of us that, if the trunk opens, we could probably jump into the trunk, take out the spare tire and whatever else is in there. Are we driving that close that we are not only being inconsiderate, but we're being unsafe? Just a question to ask. Now, I've heard this, and I would like, for those who are listening, I will ask, hopefully, those of you who are driving examiners, those of you who are police officers, would respectfully give us the honest, goodness, truthful answer. We are told by a number of those who are learning to drive that there is this, I don't know whether it's a practice, whether they're being told that this is what you do. So you're driving along. The scenario is that you're driving along. The vehicle is so close to you that in order, and their lights, so it's an evening, their lights are bright and they're close to you, that what you do to draw attention to that vehicle behind you, that hey, you're not at a safe distance, that you, now I heard the words jam on your brakes. I wouldn't say that's what you do, but you tap your brakes, you somehow hit your brakes. Now, if you do that, would that cause the vehicle behind you to rear end you? Now, what I was told, and remember, I learned to drive 5,000 years ago or thereabouts, so I think Noah was getting ready to launch the ark. I don't know, we'll see. But what we were told is that if you were driving in the evening and the vehicle behind you had the lights on bright, you would flick that little thing on your rear view mirror, and you just flick it back down. It'll move the lights away from your eyes. You can still see, and then that should draw attention. Now, maybe that's not the practice. Maybe it's the tapping of the brakes or the like. The reason why I asked that is because and thank you for asking me, but I apologize. I have some answers, but I don't have all the answers. I don't know what number is going to play tomorrow. I don't know what number played yesterday. I don't know, those things, right? But what I do know, and Ms. Susan reminds me, and thank you so much, playing numbers is illegal, so don't do it. Now, equally, if we're not being consistent in our messaging relative to how we are supposed to use roundabouts, and we're doing so safely, if we are not consistent in applying our laws equal and fairly across the board. So for argument's sake, you're not supposed to be, and this is the law, you're not supposed to be driving without your seatbelt, unless, and there are certain exceptions, and you don't qualify, then it's illegal for all of us. Now, hopefully this is not improper, but should an officer be allowed discretion? I think he should. She should say, listen, okay, you're not driving without a seatbelt, don't let it happen again. Maybe you should say, nope, strict offense, here's a $50 ticket, $500 ticket, whatever it is. But consistently, that officer may decide, my policy is, and it's allowed up the chain of command. I see you one time with it, I can give you a break. Second time thereafter, I'll give you higher fine, whatever the case is. So consistent and fairly across the board, complete and accurate and consistent messaging with respect to roundabouts are important. So for those who know, maybe you can help me so that if I'm asked the question, I would know. The vehicle behind you in the evening, lights are on bright, very close. What do you do? What is the safe, legal, accepted practice to communicate to that vehicle that you're not at a safe distance? Do you hit the brakes, as some have shared, tap it, hit it gently, sharply, whatever the case is? Or do you, accelerate and get away from the car? Do you, flick that little sort of tab on your rear view mirror? What is it that you do? And presumably, not all of us know. So it's not a bonus question where you get some points and a bar of chocolate or anything else. Just share with us. 949-8037 or 949-6990. Likewise, you can WhatsApp if you want your answers, your comments, your questions, anything you have, to 925-3261. Now, in addition to that, the other comment that we had that we wanted, our listeners wanted us to sort of mention, is this presumably increased practice now. Seemingly, as we were told, it had sort of been curtailed, but now it's back in full swing. Is that because of the increased pace of development and construction, or maybe people seeing the opportunity there and they want to fill the market? But it has to do with this selling of foods, from the trunks of cars, from cars in particular, whether it's at the back seat of the trunk or otherwise. Now, the obvious concerns, not just the licensing, but the safety and the hygiene. Is it properly inspected? Have they got all of the things in place? You may be, well, I know this person, and the person cooks good and all the things, and you buy it. Even though you're comfortable with it, and even though you've been doing it for a long time, is it a practice that should be encouraged? Is it a practice that is, no big deal, nobody is being harmed by it? What is your view? Now, some of you have said that it was something that was very rampant. People were going to the construction sites, sometimes just selling as it is, others to deliver orders that were sort of prearranged. But it had dropped off. I believe the DEH provides safe handling courses in relation to food preparation and sale and the like. There is the machinery to make sure that you're compliant. But having said that, sometimes we turn a blind eye to certain things, or we risk getting caught because we don't believe that the punishment, the fine and the like is anything significant. So, yeah, no harm, no foul. Better to apologize and say I'm sorry than to, ask permission and seek approval. Again, what is the psyche of the society? So what are your views on any of those things? 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. And then there was a couple of other things I will share with you once we come back from this break. I'll try to pull it up here so I don't have to try to draw exclusively on my memory. But have you share your thoughts. Now, the one thing that seemingly has preoccupied much of the calls that we've fielded has been the public. Well, I shouldn't say the public because that would sound like everybody, but those of the public who have shared their thoughts with me, is the perception that this particular government's management of large financial projects, sometimes leaves much to be desired. Don't say that to be facetious nor overly offensive. Let's go to our phones, though. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, young Sterling.
Hey, good afternoon, sir. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you crossed my mind twice today and once yesterday. I thought, I didn't even think of you, and I do apologize, man. I pray you're well, sir.
Well, Susan just asked me how I was, and I'm a little bit, today is my 48th anniversary, and I don't have a wife to help me celebrate, but I'm celebrating it with her by the graveside.
Well, sir, you know what? I didn't know that, but I now realize why you were on my mind so much. And, you know, you are, if you don't mind me saying, you are remarkable, not just a remarkable one, but a wonderful example. And your wife is an incredible lady, you know.
Well, thanks. I was listening to you. Well, not to mention one of my best friends passed on quick so suddenly yesterday. He was godfather to one of my daughters, and I was godfather to I am godfather to his son. He is probably 3 years younger than I am, and I saw him just after he had surgery 3 weeks ago, and he was doing so well. You know, anyway, God knows best, and we have to accept that.
Yes, sir.
But I heard you talking, amongst other things, about people traveling so near to you in the rear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I mean, I've experienced that day in and day out. I cannot fathom why people. I mean, I got my license when I was in Jamaica, 8 days after I turned 17, and I've tried to maintain a sense of value of life and a sense of fairness to everybody. Very seldom do I exceed the speed limit because unless it's an emergency. But if I'm driving, I'm usually 2 to 3 car lengths behind someone, unless, you know, I'm caught up in bumper-to-bumper traffic. So it behoves every citizen. I mean, it's so amazing what people do to get to town a half a second before you. I mean, it's just, they're not only risking their own life, but they're risking somebody else's.
You know, and I appreciate you, because if you think sometimes, as you said, I was just thinking, you're coming down, I call them the bypass, you're coming down, the car, you know, zips around you and weaves in and out, and then by the time you get to the next roundabout or the next stoplight or whatever it is, that car is in front of you, but they've gone zooming ahead, you know, for that short distance at a higher rate of speed, but they're only, you know, right up, you're behind them again by the next roundabout.
It's just amazing how people think. And usually, I hate to say this, but it's the younger people, and I've found recent times that the young ladies are more aggressive than the men. At least that's my experience. I'm not saying that they are.
Mm-hmm.
In driving, that is.
Yeah.
But the answer, you know, when I was younger and living in Jamaica, I would stop suddenly and let them almost hit me before I move off again. But I have outgrown that mode of thought. So it behoves everyone to think while they're driving. You know, you can't be doing 5 different things while you're driving. If you're driving, you concentrate on your driving until you get where you're going. But it's amazing. I mean, in the morning times, if I have to come to town before 8, even at 7 o'clock, it's amazing. I mean, everybody is hell-bent on getting to town, and they don't matter how they drive around you. It's only a miracle, I suppose, that people don't get in more accidents. But when you look at the statistics that government has published, it's no wonder we have 300 odd fender benders in a month, because people just are not careful. And they depend on their brakes too much. I mean, a lot of times the brakes fail, you know. And there were so many other things that I heard you talk about that I would like to have commented on, but that was one that stuck out in my mind, you know. Like I say, I'm kind of apprehensive today because I'm thinking, and, you know, my best friend, or one of my best friends, passed away so suddenly, and, you know, it's just, I didn't know how to break it to my daughter, because she's in the States. She works she lives in Palm Beach, and my godson, the gentleman's son, lives in Lehigh, Florida, and it's, oh boy, it's just overwhelming. And then I'm here, talking to myself because, of course, I'm near the graveside of my wife, but just here for a little companionship. But life is still so wonderful, with all the trials and tribulations. As that Dorata or whatever the name of that I forget what that guy's name that sang that or spoke it.
Yeah.
But with all the calamities and all the trials and all of the happenings in life, it's still a beautiful life, And we have to be so grateful to wake up every morning and breathe the breath of life.
Amen.
And live and live and live,
Yeah. Well, Miss Susan told me...
You should not... Pardon?
Sorry, she said it's Les Green that sang that, she says.
Yes.
She knows everything, She's like...
I know. I was in the Braca over the weekend, and I saw her aunt at the old people home there, because I have an aunt there myself. And I visit there so often, and unfortunately, always for funerals, because as the president of the Seafarers, every time a seafarer dies, whether it's here or there, I try to make an appearance and do a tribute. My best friend, my first cousin, who was the president up there up until he got sick last year, he passed away, so I had to go give a tribute to him. And then the wife of a seafarer, or rather the widow of a seafarer, she passed away. So one was Saturday, one was Sunday. And then I come back here now, and within 2 days, all these things happen. And, you have to be, anyone who is not grateful for the breath of life, something is wrong with their thinking.
Well, this is why I appreciate you, sir, taking time to share with us and let us be there with you, because that reminds us. This is another reason why I always enjoy being in your company and listening to you. You experience things we experience things in our lives, and sometimes we fail, as you share, to appreciate, one, what others are going through, but two, I call them the blessings that we have, the opportunity to be grateful and to show that joy, and just listening to you, it's moving, it's encouraging, it's inspiring, but I think it also makes us, hopefully, have a greater sense of humility.
Yeah, am I to blame God for all these things? No, I can't. I'm only thankful to Him for giving me the courage to overcome all of these things and accept them as His will,
Amen.
And so many of us, especially the younger generation, myself and I guess yourself, we were fortunate to have been brought up in a family atmosphere that we went to church and we, but there's so many broken homes now that, oh my goodness.
If you feel so led, if I could ask you with respect to that, so let's take me, my generation, but even those after me, so a bit younger, who are now raising families. Do you think two things? One, that somehow we're failing, and if so, how and why, to raise our children up into that environment where we're going to church with them? And then, as you answer that, is the church, the wider community, but the church in particular, accommodating, nurturing, as it were, when we were growing up? And has it come to a point where we're watering it down, that you come in, you as one fellow said, you pay your entrance fee, you listen to 2 songs, a quick verse, and then you're gone, and then that's it. There's no real substance. That sense of community, that sense of value, is that being lost because we're being expedient?
Well, it has been lost for a long time. I mean, someone sent me a thing the other day, and I don't remember the exact words in it, but take the United States. They had people revolting because they didn't want the Bible in the church. They revolted because They didn't want the teachers to use the cane anymore. And look what's happening in the United States because they took all these things away, all these godly things, all these things. The Bible said, raise up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he'll not depart from it. And those are proven things from the Bible. But for someone to just assume that the atmosphere and the birds and the bees and the trees just appeared out of nowhere, something must be wrong with their thoughts. It has to be a superior being that did all these things for us. And as far as the church, I've always, maybe I'm wrong, but I've always blamed mothers or parents for children doing the wrong thing. Because not that me and my siblings did the right thing all the time, but when we did something wrong, my mother especially, because my dad was at sea most of the time, but my mother, she chastised us, and we knew that we did something wrong, so we're not going to do it again.
Right. But then, if I may ask, and I'm looking at society, and I'm thinking of the different, I call them challenges, right? If there's a different word, let me know. So financially, in order to make ends meet, whatever the motivation is, if they are both parents, both are seemingly working, the balance of the aspirations of the mother, the wife in her career, and that with the family and the roles that the different people, or the responsibilities that they assume, I don't want to say roles, we're now to a point where it's sort of a free-for-all and everybody going in their own way and a laissez-faire approach. I mean, is that what's happening to some extent?
Of course, that's what's happening. I mean, I've had, there's one particular man told me himself, listen, when my children get 16, they come out of my house.
Wow,
I mean,
16.
How can you, I'm serious.
Wow.
And he did it. But, that is total, I don't know. Yeah. That is a breakdown. And then, of course, you have, it's as if people don't realize that their pregnancies can be prevented so easily. And, they have 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 children by 7 different men or 7 different women. And it goes on. But, and who am I to talk about that? Of course, I don't have any outside children, thank God.
Yes, sir.
But what I'm trying to say is that when my children were young, and now, I mean, one is 47 and one is 41.
Wow.
We are still a family unit.
If I could ask, if I could ask you that, and thanks for sharing that. I was thinking it, and since you brought it up, I had today's Wednesday, so not that long ago, right? I had a conversation with a father, and there was a conversation Friday, and he reached out to me early. He said, this was hopefully what I understood him to say, so hopefully this is what he said. He said that, him and the wife, they're working, they got their extended family, the uncles, the grandparents, the aunts, and good friends. So they're this strong family unit. Not many of them, but they try to be, this is my word, nurturing and supportive to the children. Children going to get a house, they offer advice because they don't understand financing. They have family members who understand construction. But someone made a comment, oh, you still babying your child, this child is now a grown man. He thought, but, who else to give advice to the child if not the parent? Who should love the child more if not the parent? And I share that with you to ask, are we, on one hand, kicking the children out at 16 or 18 or 21 or whatever age, and on the other hand, chastising those families, just like you said, loving, nurturing family that still have a family get-together, maybe find time to consciously have a meal together, to be supportive and nurturing? Are we, cussing them no matter what they do?
Well, let me give you a prime example of that. Of course, I'm 71 years old, so I'm a little bit before you guys. But I went to sea. I sailed the oceans. And I remember the first time coming back of course, we lived in Jamaica at the time. I remember the first time coming back after 13 months of not seeing my mom or my dad. I came home and I came home like on a Tuesday, and the Saturday morning I went to see my girlfriend who would eventually become my wife. I left at 10 o'clock in the morning by bus. I didn't have a car. came back at 10 o'clock in the night. Now, bear in mind, I'm 22 years old. I've been at sea for 13 months.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother took a bell on to beat me. Say, you're supposed to call me and tell, you know.
Yes, sir. I mean, I
didn't like it. I didn't like it at the time, but
yep.
because of all of those chastisements that were warranted,
mm-hmm.
and she didn't think before she did it,
mm-hmm.
it made me a better person. And my kids today, even though one is married and the other one is a big career lady, they still call me daddy.
Yes, sir.
They still kiss me every time they're leaving the house if they're there.
Wow. Yes.
What is wrong with that?
But if I have not been improper, but that's the environment that you and your wife created in the home that the children feel that, and there's that display. Now, I say that there are some of us who, we may not physically embrace. It may be just a way, a look, or tap on the shoulder, whatever. But it is as loving and endearing. But then there are those of us who, weeks and months and years go by, we don't see our loved one. No harm, no foul, right? Just what I share with you, man.
It's just a different time that we live in, but it's not. It doesn't have to be that way.
So how do we change
it? They took everything out of the schools. I mean, look at our schools today.
Mm-hmm.
They beat up a teacher. They smoke marijuana. They carry knives. Listen, in my day when I was going to high school in Jamaica, that could not happen.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I remember, before I leave, I remember one incident of a lady who I got to know very well. She was a good friend of the family. But her husband died. And then one or two of her sons started selling ganja. So I said, lady, what's wrong? What's happening? Well, listen, they have to live too, and my husband died. And I mean, what kind of attitude is that? You're condoning things that should not happen.
Sad. Well, listen, thank you, and hopefully I get a chance to chat with you. Please, always be that nurturing, inspiring man. God bless you, sir.
All the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye now.
All right. A wonderful gentleman. Let's pause, don't take a break. Thanks to Miss Susan for giving us a little bit extra time. She's just a wonderful lady. Camera bracket, what do you expect? All right. More talk today when we come back.
Radio K-Man. Radio K-Man's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Today marks the 8th anniversary of the disappearance of Kiran Baker, who was 25 years old and living in Bodden Town when she went missing on Sunday, July 31st of 2011. Detectives with the Serious Crime Review Team has reactivated the investigation into Kiran's disappearance in recent months and are treating it as a murder inquiry. They are now appealing for any information, however small, someone may have about what happened to Kiran. Derek Byrne, Commissioner of Police, said unsolved serious crime cases are never closed, but they may not be actively investigated for a period of time if all inquiries and leads have been exhausted. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, the leader of a South Korean doomsday cult has been sentenced to 6 years in jail for holding her followers captive in Fiji and subjecting them to violence. Shinok Ju, who founded the Grace Road Church, convinced 400 people to move to Fiji in 2014, claiming they would be safe from imminent natural disaster. Once there, their passports were taken away and many of them reported being beaten to drive out evil spirits. Shin was arrested last July. And prison officials have begun transferring the ringleaders behind a deadly fight at Altamira Jail in northeastern Brazil. 58 inmates were killed when members of a criminal gang known as Commando Class A attacked rivals from the Commando Romero Red Command gang. 16 of the dead were decapitated. The others died from asphyxiation after a fire was started in one of the cells. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Looking for a new car? We can give you a zillion reasons to switch to electric. They cost you less to run. They helps to save the planet. They are free charging stations all across Grand Cayman. Low maintenance needs. They're quiet both inside and out. And they're the future. But most of all, the government has reduced custom duties on electric cars. For cars valued below $30,000, you now don't have to pay anything. Visit the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure Facebook page for more information on electric cars.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8837, 949-6990, or you can send us your thoughts on our WhatsApp, 925-3261. It is open line, and I'm very, very grateful for the gentleman who just called. And it's not just because of who he is, the different sort of things he's involved in, whether it's in the service or community related or likewise, but the constant reminder of how easy sorry, getting a little choked up, how easy it is, to appreciate life here, and how sometimes we don't. Let's go to our phones though. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Hey, Dwayne, how are you today?
Very blessed and thankful. How about yourself?
Amen. Same here.
Amen to that. Huh?
Blessed and thankful. I don't have much today. I just wanted to, if you would give me 2 minutes to do our yearly, the FC International.
The football camp coming up, huh?
Football camp coming up.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to do it too close to the...
I got it on my calendar, man. I'm going to mention it for you, too.
Yeah, it's August the 12th, right?
Mm-hmm.
August the 12th to the 16th, and inviting all parents out there to get their boys and girls ready, age 4 to 16. It's at the Georgetown Primary School football field where it is usually held, and the time is 9 to 1 p.m. All kids will receive a free lunch and a free T-shirt. Guys, ladies and gents, whatever, mothers, fathers, get your kids ready and get them out there. It is free, and this is something that FC International has been doing for the past, I believe it's 20 years, from 1994.
Mm-hmm. You doing calculating, huh?
Yeah, how much that is doing? 25? My gosh, that's
you should put it in a spreadsheet, man. I calculated with tape, I can hear it.
Right. Anyway, we want to,
yes, ma'am.
The government, who is always one of the big sponsors of this, and many of the private sectors. There is a lot of people involved in this that do a lot of work in order to make this camp successful for the kids. And I mean, any kid, any child, not kids, any child are invited. And the child, age 4 to 16. Mothers and fathers, like I said, get your children out there. It's all free. They will get free lunch and free T-shirts. So, Dwayne, if you can, each day remind them, give them a little plug. If you don't have the you have the flyer, you say, right?
Yes, I did, and I have it here. I was going to reference it, but thank you for,
Okay. Well,
it's a free camp, as you shared.
Yeah.
All right. Lunch too, huh?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Lunch and free T-shirt. So, they only need to get their kids ready and get them out there. This is something that FC International group has done for the past 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you for the time. I don't have much more to say today because I'm so angry. Otherwise,
Well, before you go, just remind us, for those who want to be part of the camp, how can they get registered? Who can they call? What numbers? What email? What do they need to do? Just quickly so that.
Well, they just show up at
okay.
the Georgetown Primary School football field.
Oh, it's called at the annex.
Yes.
Okay.
Monday, August the 12th. So it's just about 2 weeks away.
Yeah,
so
not this Monday, but following Monday.
They can start making plans from now.
All right. Well, I was going to start it next week, but thank you for doing it today.
Okay.
So parents, right. It's important, man. You guys have been doing it now if 25 years is a quarter of a century, sounds long.
Yes.
Almost as long as Susan's been around.
I honestly take my hat off to those guys, that put their all in this every year to make it a success for our children,
Indeed.
Yeah, but
thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you too. And as the caller shared, it's important that we as a community, whether as individuals or as a corporate entity, that we find a way to very, very willingly, graciously, safely add value, contribute to making a society better. Take, for instance, summer camps that are ongoing, whether they're sports related or otherwise, people volunteering, hopefully that we are conscious that unfortunately sometimes that smiling face that we may think, oh, that's such a nice person. Let's make sure we do our due diligence, but hopefully that's a rare thing, and because of all the others around who are good-natured and genuine, we can not have to worry too much about that. But a very, very heartfelt thanks to all those who, do so much and give so much of themselves. And as my friend says, she says, her time, the talent, the treasure. All right, a couple of emails to share with us. Thank you for listening, and let's talk from these emails here. This one talks about safe road craft. Remember earlier we were asking about, the comments on tailgating and the like and the safe driving distances. Appreciate this person not just listening but taking the time to compose this email. It says reference to tailgating. Let's start with that first. It says with the ebb and flow of normal traffic, most of us will at times end up too close to the car in front and make an adjustment immediately. However, there are some for whom traveling too close in the car in front is an everyday and very dangerous habit. So to communicate this to tailgaters, I turn on my hazard lights, which is legitimate as you and the tailgater are indeed a hazard, and other road users need to be aware of this. Why are you also a hazard? Because of the knowledge that if you brake really hard, it might well result in a rear-end collision. Therefore, you might not brake as hard as you in fact need to. Having the hazard lights on might also attract the attention of a police car and result in a tailgater being pulled over by the police. I've used this method twice, and each time the tailgater has immediately increased the distance between him and me to a safe distance. Now, I should probably make the screen a little brighter so I can read this. Or Susan says I should probably get my glasses on, but alright. Maybe the font should be a little bit bigger. B. What is a safe driving distance between you and the vehicle in front? I was always taught that the quote 3,000 rule, in which you start counting to 3,000 as the car in front of you passes a point to the side of the road. If you are still counting as you yourself reach that point, you are too close. In rainy conditions, you are supposed to double this distance. Hope this might help. Well, thank you. I think it does. Now, you're driving, and this driver's practice is, hit your hazard lights. Hey, yeah, sounds like a good thing. Now, what about in the night? And the person behind you has on the bright lights. What do you do now to get your attention? Do you flick the little, don't say the little thing about jig or the little thing about on your rearview mirror that flashes the lights up and down? Or some of you go, I got one of those. Yep, actually it's right there. I think most cars do. Now, what do you do? And the reason why I'm asking is because there are obviously a lot of cars on our roads and perhaps different, practices, habits, different ways that we were instructed in how to drive. And even, thankfully, we're gradually, hopefully, getting to proper use and a consistent use of our roundabouts. But if we all, for instance, agree that this is how you use the roundabout, that's a safe way. Now, maybe that'll make it safer for all of us. I use that as an example only because what triggered this conversation was someone had said, all right, we're going around a roundabout. And even if there are 2 lanes or 3 lanes in the roundabout, as some have now, I'll call it the outside lane. And there's an exit 1, and there's an exit 2, and then an exit 3, and then you can go all the way around and head back in the opposite direction in which you're coming. So almost, a complete circle, as it were. Which lane do you go in? Do you go in the lane closest? I call it the right lane, on the inside lane, the one closest to what hopefully is a nicely landscaped area. Or do you go in the furthest lane, the left lane, the outside lane that goes all the way around, so you don't go off on the first exit or the second exit or the third exit or the fourth exit. You just go all the way around and go back in the opposite direction. Now, I think, and if it's not correct, certainly tell me, because this is what I think. I think you go in the inside lane. That way you're, not near any of the potential exits, and then you head back to the one that you want, and then you go off. Some have a practice of staying on the outside lane and going all the way around. In my view, again, just my view, if you do that and the car to your right, whether it's in the middle lane or the inside right lane, if that car is going to exit on any of those exits, could conceivably, hit you sideways, go in front of you. Now, are you blocking the exits if you're on the left lane, outside lane, and thereby, providing a hazard? I'm told by police officers that practice is acceptable, but if you are deemed at fault, you'll be charged with, and I believe, I'm told that this is in the law, inconsiderate driving. Now, not to be disrespectful, it doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but safety first, they say, all right? You tell me what you think. 949-837, 949-6990. All right. Another email to read, to look at that came through yesterday. Hopefully it was read early as well. But Miss Susan, do we need to take the final break now? All right. See that? Almost paying attention. Phone lines are open. I would like to hear from you if you wish to share your thoughts with us. So please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Get half off a complete pair of glasses with any student's eye exam now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in Caymanian Village.
King Sports Center Art of Fun Summer Camp is back from July 2nd to August 2nd. Now in its 15th year, the Art of Fun Camp is ideal for kids ages 5 through 10 with activities from football, basketball, dodgeball, squash, rock climbing, arts and craft, dance, singing, and more. Your child can practice physical and social skills while having fun in a safe and secure environment. For more info, call 946-KING. Like King's Sports Center on Facebook, and you can also find them on Instagram or call 946-5464. King Sports Center, providing you with all your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs. Register before May 31st and save 10% on camp registration.
Hi, my name is Khadija Bodden, contestant number 6, representing the beautiful district of Bodden Town. I'm 23 years old with a bachelor's in biochemistry, a master's in regenerative medicine, and a love for the environment. I enjoy advocacy and spreading awareness, so I am so pleased to be working with our official platform, the Alex Panton Foundation. I travel whenever I get the opportunity, and Portugal is my favorite place that I've visited so far. I enjoy working out for a good de-stress, and my favorite yoga pose is the headstand. I also love having my picture taken. Thank you to Personnel 2000 Recruitment for their generous sponsorship. I can't wait to see you all on August 17th at the Ritz for the 2019 Miss Cayman Islands Universe pageant.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037, 949-6990. Likewise, you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Let me share with you an email that came through after the show. Hopefully, it was shared earlier as well. This is in relation to some thoughts on population increases and their possible effects on Caymanian culture. So, culture and national identity. So first, Caymanians have to decide what kind of society they wish to live in and pass on to future generations. Do they want a regular society in which the vast majority of its people are Caymanians, either by birth or having been awarded Caymanian status? Or a society in which the vast majority of its people are predominantly adult workers of multi-national backgrounds recruited to work in Cayman for a predetermined period of time? So most of the world's societies have a percentage of foreign workers for a variety of reasons, including the inability of the native population to provide sufficient labor. They normally constitute an insignificant percentage of the population, but here in Cayman, this is not the case, and this anomaly is set to get much worse by all accounts. For Cayman's population is currently in the region of 60,000. May be true. I always, partial out of fun, say close to 100,000, but maybe we'll see. So this is the population is currently in the region of 60,000. Approximately 30 to 40,000 of this number is made up of a foreign workforce, in the main single employees on work permits. The present government anticipates an increase over the next 15 to 20 years in Cayman's population from the present 60,000 to 100,000, an increase of 40,000 people or 80%. Now, I thought I saw where some HSA sort of RFP indicated 130,000 and it was in 5 years, but that might have been something different. Just a little added commentary. It says, it is difficult to imagine Cayman's native population of some 20 to 30,000 achieving an increase of some 40,000 people over the next 15 to 20 years. So we can safely assume that this increase in overall population will come about overwhelmingly from an increase in the non-Caymanian multinational workforce from its present 30 to 40,000 to some 70 to 80,000. 5. The detrimental and debilitating effect on Caymanian culture and society of the presence of 7 to 8 out of every 10 people living and working in Cayman being foreign workers is difficult to underestimate. Caymanians must decide if they want this reality. Do they want a society in which population increase is mainly driven, in the norm, by the native population and consisting of Caymanian adults and children, or one in which huge increases in population consist mainly of single adult foreign workers as an accepted norm? So do Caymanians want to live in a, quote, normal society or a utilitarian or workforce society in which the needs to provide the labor demands at any price takes a totally disproportionate priority over the preservation of Caymanian culture and Caymanian identity? One might reasonably conclude that unless there is a major rethink in the government's trajectory, Caymanian culture and national identity is essentially doomed. Now, what are your thoughts? And I read that not just because I thought, something that someone wrote that would encourage a conversation, but it posits a lot of questions, and it's something that a lot of you have shared. From those sort of, I call them urban economists to, sort of the armchair publishing statistical, sort of analytical inclined mindsets who have said they're looking at potential business opportunities and they're seeing niche markets that are not yet really being properly addressed. To those who are sharing, if we understand the trajectory of this, then potentially it could mean that. To those who have been very, very deliberate in condemning not just the business sectors sort of push on government to develop infrastructure and increase the population, to sometimes the political incline, whether elected or appointed or otherwise, who see larger numbers or more being better. Now, what will be the consequence? What is the impact now? And what is the desire to have these discussions? Can we do so in a very civilized, mature, reasonable, rational manner that isn't egregious and offensive, but insightful, not inciting in a sort of violent nor divisive sort of tone? If you have ever been somewhere where you're the first to get there and the place seems to be cold and empty, and then 10, 15 minutes, an hour later, it's all filled and maybe smoky, maybe it's noisy, maybe it's loud, and then it's a lot hotter because more bodies are in the room. How do you feel? Do you like it crowded like that? Do you like it more space? Think of the beach. Some of us will go to the beach and we go, oh, too many people here. And the person, too many people, there's only 4 people. Oh, too many people here. Some of us go to the beach and there's 4,000. Oh, it's not a crowded day. Again, back to my earlier sentiment, matter of perspective. One man's meat is another man's poison. What I'm sharing is quite obvious, is that for some, and in particular some Caymanians, the loud, noisy, sort of crowded atmosphere and environment isn't what they're accustomed to, isn't what they desire, and understand that with progress they may get more people in development. But can it be managed? Can it be sustainable? Can it be, sort of done properly? Perhaps. Let's go to our phones though. Good afternoon. How are you today?
Yo, Mr. Dwayne.
My good friend. How are you, man? How are you?
Not too much. You see me call a couple times in a row, right?
Well, listen, I hope you appreciate that whenever you call. I always glad to hear you, man.
Always, and I always glad to hear Miss Susan. Miss Susan got that nice voice on her phone.
You hear that? I tell you, man, boy, and you should see her now. She's so embarrassed, but that's the humility, But she does, have that pleasure, Yeah, man.
Yeah, you better hope nobody don't steal her.
Well, boy, she don't mind, I mean, but I hear what you're saying now, so I better be careful. I get in trouble because they might tell me, boy, I'm preaching some law. But for what it's worth, I like it when she sits across it and does I call it the board. She does all the sound stuff and makes it all perfect. So makes my job easier. So I'm hopeful nobody steals her.
You can see her through the glass, but you can't touch her now.
Yeah, that's Miss Susan, what are you telling these people? I hear you, man. I hear you.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Let me just say something, right?
Yes, sir.
The government, you see, when I driving through town and I see that pretty water like that,
Mm-hmm.
If I go and drive through town and I go and see those cruise ships blocking my view of that pretty ocean water, we have a problem, right? Because I love when I on an island and I can look out towards the sea and I can see nothing but clear blue water. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the aspects of living on an island.
Mm-hmm.
If these people, and when I say these people, the carnival want to destroy my view, right? Then you kind of got a problem.
As I listen to you, though, I'm thinking that I was trying to think how to share this because I want it to be a comment that makes us think and not points fingers and kind of thing, right? So we were having a conversation with some. I know I shouldn't call them elderly gentlemen because they're gonna get annoyed at me, but they are older than I am. A few years my senior and the like. But the wisdom, the knowledge, right?
The wisdom.
And one of them, older than the rest of us, he said, why is it that politicians can't seem to understand that it's not about them? That sometimes, and it's not, he didn't say that it's not just there's something that politicians do, but people in power, but he was sort of, my interpretation, castigating politicians generally. So he's talking about the port, and he said, okay, when we're looking at the port, have we really looked at it to say the best place is A, B, or C? And his view is that we haven't. And if we do, and he said, for instance, I hope I'm not talking to the school. He says, what if you want to put it off Turtle Farm, or you want to put it in North Sound, or you put it in Red Bay or East End, and there's going to be some impact no matter where you put it. Why can't we say this, and this is the best because this is where? And not to cut you too much, not to belabor it, but he said that there are certain places in the world where those, I use a different word, but I kind of, to remember it, I say harbors. This is where the ports, I guess, the harbors, and when they were being done, there were a lot of sort of controversy, is how I would interpret it. But 50, 100 years later, they work, they still work, and they're good for the economy, it's good for the country.
Yeah. But those people that protested it then, they probably up in the old people home or something. They probably can't say nothing more. They probably in the ground now, Mr. Dwayne.
Right.
Of course, you're gonna have people that say, "Oh, we love it."
Right.
You know what I mean? But to what he's saying about building the dock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Tibbet said it up inside it. He said, "My legacy." He said something about his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And I believe this is all just about something to be with Alden McLaughlin legacy.
Mm.
If you want a legacy, go cook a egg.
But legacies, right? And just picked up on our word. If you do something and people remember you for that, that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. You could be a person that planted out a garden in a park, and now it's a national park, and everybody comes and feed the birds and rows the canoes and enjoys the space, right? Yeah. Or you could be the person that built this monstrosity, and everybody look at it and their eyes hurt, their heart ache because it's the horrible thing to the skyline.
But you still gotta remember who built it, whether it's good or bad. No?
Good or bad. So there you go.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking that they hoping for. And Alden McLaughlin, he already went Harvard, but what he need more to do? He don't need no more legacy. He don't need nothing more. He already got cream hair and things like that. He don't need nothing more.
Yeah.
And then when you hear him talking to, right? I'm sorry, but when you hear him talking to, he don't sound a bit. You know what I mean? I don't know. He sound like he's smarter than everybody else.
Well,
this man you don't even know where Tunisia is.
I hear, I guess what you're inferring, what you're saying and stuff, right? But it must be challenging at times to be in a position where you have, for want of a better phrase, the weight of the world on your shoulders, right? So let me ask them, where are we, the general public? Are we able to access the politicians just as easily as let's call them the lobby group, the special interests, can? And are the politicians willing to listen to us if it's not an election day?
I don't think so. You hear him, this what he was talking about yesterday is that they want to make sure that the cruise ship passengers have a good, look out for them and probably see if they won't buy land here, probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's probably who he's looking out for. I don't jobs. Let me tell you something about the jobs thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't own my own business out there, I don't want to be working for no whipping master. You understand?
Right. Would you allow me? I can do it later, but since you bring it up now, comment that came through right about the port says. Let me just read maybe two things, if that'll be okay. It says, why are we spending? In this space says maybe $300 million on the cruise tourism sector that only returns an average of $90 per person, versus spending $300 million on building a new airport in the east for the stayover tourism sector, which would spend at least $5,000 for 1 week and grow the economy from east to the west, right?
They're putting the sock on the shoe, man. They don't know. This is why I don't understand with them. They work backwards.
Mm-hmm.
When you see people like that know the obvious and they still go do it, it's something pushing them to do this. It's something or somebody pushing them to build this.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, listen, man, I saw that looked like I was going to ask you to just leave us there, but final points, I don't wish to be disrespectful.
No disrespectful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll call again till next week.
No, man, listen, you call next week, you call tomorrow. Thank you, and be safe, all right? All right, thank you all. Thanks, Ms. Susan, for that couple extra minutes. And I close with this thought. Someone has put it this way. Hopefully it captures what I know a number of you shared. I was looking for it earlier and I found it. Since my prayer and petition for the government is that hopefully they'll have a more robust project management excellence for the port, which is provided, and that is provided by the PWD's major project office for the airport. And it comes back to what I was saying earlier, that sometimes when you look at the track records of certain things, you go, no problem. That person is doing it, that company is doing it. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to be done well, on time, within budget, to the highest standards. And you go, oh, that's who's in charge. Good night, Bobo. It's a matter of perspective. Please continue to be civil and to be constructive, to be informed and to be involved. And above all, to be blessed. Come back tomorrow for Talk Today after the midday news and midday meditation. Is the buzz on in the morning, Miss Susan? Money Sense as well tomorrow? I keep losing track. It's only once a month, right? Second, that should be on every day. That's such a, so make a note. The second and the fourth, week of the month, the Money Sense. Really, Kema has the best programming. Don't take it from me, man. Listen for yourself and decide. But Miss Sabrina facilitates the business buzz in the morning, and her feature will be on the Black Artist tomorrow. So, wow. Camelback Greens, man. Now, we got to talk today. We got a couple of good things in store for you. I'm hoping to be able to encourage a couple of young chaps to join us. Got a brilliant person that hopefully will sit with me to help facilitate that discussion and bring these young chaps in to share their perspective as they continue with their education. And hopefully not twisting their arms or nothing, but we as a people are a bit shy of publicity in the spotlight and the microphones. You will believe it? So am I. But you learn to get over it, you see. And you learn to realize that you have a great sense of, humility. You may actually one day be given a degree of honor. But humility before honor, the scripture reminds us. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
All that talk, sit back, relax. Easy listening on the way. You're listening to Susan on the PM Show, Radio K-Man.